Yeah, we glorious. Yeah, we notorious. We so glorious. We so warriors.
M-Dog, you know that I'm the general. Way too sick, need some vitamins and minerals. Want it like a criminal, matching all these syllables. My mob Bob shit, leading all these individuals. Pitiful, disgraceful, and all around despicable. Wave the white flag, one nation indivisible. Sodom and Gomorrah, all the things I see is biblical. Water against fire, every hit I do is critical. Motherfucker, fuck your couch, and I keep talking to the cat like his name is Meow. Then all you bird ass bitches go ahead, fly south. I heard you keep saying my name, keep my dick out your mouth. My nigga, we formed a collective, I sworn to protect it and keep it respected. You gotta respect it, we got the flow. Don't stop it like catching my soul, never resting while you get played like the baby grand piano. Whoa.
Notorious, we notorious. Yeah, we notorious. Notorious.
Naturally never negative. Nickname us a nuisance. Nigga, you're negligent and need a new nature. Nicer than new neighbors from night to the noon. We never noticed the naysayers. We thinking of a master plan. Taking time and we never rush hours like Jackie Chan. They say patience a virtue. Wait with no curfew. Just like a baby born late from the birth due. Haters wanna give shade, throwing dirt too. But I ain't never have a stain on my church shoes. You go into a different lane and they swerve you. That's why I'm higher than a plane getting bird flu. My name universal, etched in stone. I rose the bar, I set the tone. I go so hard, my flesh and bone. Adamantium cover, yeah, we the X-Men. On the last stand with my brothers.
Don't know how to start, so let me talk about the realest shit. Music, fitness, training, audit, nigga, I've been doing this. Working with the bankers, LLC, and what I'm moving, bitch. Dropped a couple bangers doing business, cause I'm too legit. 2023, I set the plans and picked my newest legs. 2024, I'm buckling down and yeah, I'm proving shit. Elevation with relations, niggas I'm congruent with. Undivided, indecisive time and how I'm doing it. No slave to no system, that's the Constitution. Irony in hindsight at that execution. So smooth with the pen, how I make illusions. Hits different KO, I just make improvements. Double jab, uppercut, and the left to hook 'em. You should tell fight promoters that they ought to book 'em. So much passion in the flames once I got him cooking. Just different hit, bustin' bitch, gushing shit. Fuck it, hip thrusting how I'm treating the beat.
Notorious. Notorious. Notorious.
I've been orchestrating orbits, aligning the stars, hear them singing in chorus. The name is notorious, feeling like I'm Morpheus, trying to free your mind of poetry in my rhymes. Send a shiver down your spine. Now the outsiders focused on our shine like we flipped the light switch. Pen and bars, picture perfect, no Picasso type shit. Concocting plots of a come up novice, but hot as summer. We knew from the jump the first album wasn't enough, so we back spitting acidic, a class of degenerates, moving like veterans when we're surrounded by you vegetables. You ain't on my level, check the pedestal. You're settling on reaching to the top for a clean spot, that's Rasheed Wallace. Need to feed my pockets like a fax machine, checking mental faculties if you didn't know the team went. Get you itching like some fiends for a dope flow, so we became what the people need.
Notorious, we notorious. Yeah, we notorious. Yeah, we some warriors. Out here feeling glorious. Yeah, we notorious. Oh, we so glorious. We some warriors.
know about me? What you think you gon' see? What you know about me? What you know about V? What you heard about me? What you know about me? What you think you gon' see? What you know about me, motherfucker?
Yeah. You're not listening to music. Yeah. With the menace. I put the vibe in vibration, the place and replacement. The rhymes inside of Big Tigger's basement. The hip in the hop, the sand in the lot, the rhythm in the boom, out the boombox. The Mona Lisa, the slice and pizza, of course. The speech in the speaker, 90s baby, I put the beep in the beeper. Keep my hundreds in my socks and the sneaker. Chocolate in the milk, the smooth in the silk. Wear my jeans, never mind the kilt. Don't need to walk around with all that guilt, cause I'm a young man, ready to be built. Put the schools on vacation for not putting the right edge inside of education. The lock on my girl so she don't move a muscle. If she moving, it's only just a movement of hustle. Retirement homes, a retirement plan. Old folks a better retirement plan. I put the wave in the water in the wave. The cave in the man out the cave. The lion out the jungle in the lion. Orion off the belt on Orion. The do in the do without even trying. The true in the truth without ever lying. The tears on your face without ever crying. The man on the man with raps, I'm sublime. The pedal to the metal without any iron. And shoot the fair ones without gunfire. Trust no man but yourself and God. Keep it real, I reel them in like a fishing rod. And that's no problem. Yeah. See, the money ain't the problem is no money. The honey ain't the problem is no honey. Being funny ain't the problem is not funny. Gotta do the math, solve it and live lovely. See, the money ain't the problem is no money. The honey ain't the problem is no honey. Being funny ain't the problem is not funny. Gotta do the math, solve it and live lovely.
If I pass by, you gon' need a pass by to pass by. Flying into taking off just like NASA. My niggas all up on your stoop like Insta. The motherfucking gas guys. I work hard cause you know it pays off. Ain't taking no shorts, I spit to rip your face off. Face offs, I was lit on to the next flight. Taking them power trips. Some ninjas be just like having power trips, no flights. Just flying word of mouth, closed mouths don't get fed. No contract for the contract in business, but my ninjas hold them leads contract in business. You know what I mean, like a fiend with a slump on the porch with a needle with a mean lean. I spit real clean, I stick to the scene, I stick to the script. Ninjas be comedy, Kevin Hart skits. I'm from a city where Movon got swung on and Paul got pissed. That we bout big beans, but our city be fierce. More than I said our city be fierce.
Shut your mouth, I'ma shut it for you, punk. Hit ya with the punk tactics. 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 Hit ya with the hard punk tactics. Bank rolls come straight for the assets. No games, no throw, won't pass it. Pick you up, spit you out like Jurassic. Oh, no for the rigmarole, we kick pros. Stub toes, I suppose you might know. Hit the block, then you flock. Time's up, now your body get clocked. Aye. Spicy like pepper, 1-2 stepper. Laid back, motivated, money go getter. Never felt better, write me love letters. Shooting up the spike chain, Megadeth tether. Get over here like Scorpion. Put you to sleep, cold Vulcan. Should I assist you or do you get the picture? If you don't budge, I'm gonna have to hit you. Hit ya with the punk tactics. 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 Yo, the lace is loose and fist tight. I never lose a fist fight. Sun up and up all night. If I'm gonna do it, then I'm gonna do it right. A to the R to the A to the E. F what you think, I'ma stay G. H is for hot, cause that's what I be. IJK, I'm cold like Slurpee. Ooh, goddamn, I drop bombs. I was born with the brains in the pond. I am the king, and you're just a pawn. Who's got the high ground now, Obi-Wan? I
stick.
Stay at the top of my game, can't fuck with me. You know, when it comes to the game, we don't move the same. I'm who you wanna be. I go hard each and every day, never miss a beat. Not I mean, you gon' regret the day you ever stepped to me. Better respect the queen. Oh no, it's me back up in this shit again. Thought you was coming, but you been hiding behind all them friends. You just wanna play with me, you little chicks wanna play for free. Wanna pass, then get played for free. I'ma pass cause they already know that I'm good when I say I be. Nah, but you never know, wanna play with me. Always smiling in your face with the fakery. You wanna talk about the last, but don't play with me. I'm real, you shit you tryna say to me. You tryna stay with me. I'ma call like I see it, then believe it, cause you're not who y'all claim to be. Recouping all my investments, I don't play for free. Said I was weak and I was stressed, but wanna lay with V. Oh no, how you gon' come for me? Stay at the top of my game, can't fuck with me. You know, when it comes to the game, we don't move the same. I'm who you wanna be. I go hard each and every day, never miss a beat. Not I mean, you gon' regret the day you ever stepped to me. Better respect the queen. Oh no, how you gon' come for me? Stay at the top of my game, can't fuck with me. You know, when it comes to the game, we don't move the same. I'm who you wanna be. I go hard each and every day, never miss a beat. Not I mean, you gon' regret the day you ever stepped to me. Better respect the queen. Motherfuckers when they run their mouth, got a lot to say when I'm not around. Soon as I pop out, they all hush hush like the cricket sound. They demeanor so blatant, can tell that they hating. Wanna see me fall, well too bad, I be waiting. I come from a place you have yet to see. Fuck around and turn boss on they flex on me. I don't wish no bad on my enemies, but cross the line and it's 113. Slicing heads like a horror scene, murking them Jason. Each time I go hard, it's to offset the hate. Who slime me, they slither, ain't no hands to shake. Go your applause, your respect, I'ma take. I'm far from a rookie, they trolling, they looking, feeling froggy. No one my killing, don't push me. How you gon' come for me? Stay at the top of my game, can't fuck with me. You know, when it comes to the game, we don't move the same. I'm who you wanna be. I go hard each and every day, never miss a beat. Not I mean, you gon' regret the day you ever stepped to me. Better respect the queen.
Everyone's a boss. Everyone's in charge. Everyone got stacks upon stacks of them green and golden balls. Placed neatly in the back of their closet, stacked up they feet up walls. Be around the prettiest bitches you seen and you'd ever call. Yeah, can't pay for features or models, can't even pay for cars. Wanna talk about running the city, but can't even run the malls. Paying with these checks with their mouths, they asses steady taking falls. Kept they up and ducking till V connected in they balls. Now niggas crying and whining, got me here taking pause. Make me get a non-disclosure for interacting with every clause. I'm the #1 also with these niggas, they playing dodge. My moves stay like years ahead, your moves have been recalled. Try to be a better me, I'm begging for an applause. Thinking I'm weak and forgetting I'm holding all these cards. With these receipts and not one of your business half is hard. No capping needed, the truth's revealed here in all this silence.
Oh no, how you gon' come for me? Stay at the top of my game, can't fuck with me. You know, when it comes to the game, we don't move the same. I'm who you wanna be. I go hard each and every day, never miss a beat. Not I mean, you gon' regret the day you ever stepped to me. Better respect the queen. Oh no, how you gon' come for me? Stay at the top of my game, can't fuck with me. You know, when it comes to the game, we don't move the same. I'm who you wanna be. I go hard each and every day, never miss a beat. Not I mean, you gon' regret the day you ever stepped to me. Better respect the queen.
Yeah.
You're not listening to music.
Yeah. With the menace.
Check it out. No play. Blue Baroque. Got it. Long time ago. Just sold this dog up. Yeah.
Top Shagger, Mick Jagger, birds drawn on me rockstar swagger. Broads begging me to clap their cheeks, but I'ma walk on by cause I'm way too dapper.
I walk firm like a big brick shit ass. Your man shit bricks when I whip that stick ass. It's the sunset and they cut that shit out. Or I'ma dig an hole in the ground, you can feel that.
Picking up a fella you don't want to smoke. I windmill, double fist and I drop you both. A black belt I can scrap cause I know I'm a judo. I make a man feel like he dropped the soap.
The magazine stuff like a lad in a gay bar. Popped a few shots while I'm grabbing a paper. I make bread, I'm an hell of a baker. My boots handmade with the skin of a gator.
Pulling up in a black Ranger Raptor. Bald on the noggin, I slap 50 factor. Any sales better go through P. You think you're the plug, I'm the fucking adapter.
Belly full of beans and a mind full of darkness. Swing from a fist there, cold like a carcass. I'm mad for blood like a shark is heartless. I'm a gangster, not an artist.
Selling bootleg gear on the market. Any old fart pass by, that's a target. Market, bargain a price at the bastard. If it don't buy, then I might get scarted.
I'm an handful, I'm a problem. I've been mixing my gym with a proxy. Living life by the book's not an option when you're running around with a net full of toxins.
Grip the metal like a man in a workshop. I squeeze, let it beat like I'm having a jerk off. I'm making it swivel when I'm whipping me tits out. The fellas know it's scrapping when I'm ripping me shirt off.
Black suspenders, southeast senders. Had his whole block knocked off like Jengas. Whole team built up for thugs and offenders. Came from the bottom, now the gang's big spenders.
Kicking the door down and knocking his teeth out. I serve up a whooping when I'm bringing the beef out. I'm foul when I slide on him, taking his knees out. I make him bow down to the king of the deep south.
King of the manor, I'm a prickly bastard. Step into the pub and I get quickly blasted. Metal in his mouth cause I'm sicker than verbal. Made the man jig when the finger me blasted.
Do you think he's been seriously in the docks and got it breaching? And it's looking through despite sort of flicking through it. And he's seriously tough.
MCs of the times. Unlike them, we craft gems, so systematically inclined. The pen lines without saying the producer's name all over the track. Yeah, I said it. What you need to do is get back to reading credits. Read the medics alphabetically, stuck on that English shit. Now, before we pour that short shot, pure rock, okay, flow. From the top of the key for 3 villains. in the game as long as he can.
Monotony. It comes in all shapes and sizes. Dull, tedious, just plain boring. But what is this? A contender, perhaps? Something unboring by the looks of it. Jabs right at dull, an uppercut to tedium, something that keeps you on your toes, keeps your head on a swivel, a knockout punch to your old, boring workouts. Welcome to Fight Camp.
Cause I never back down. I'm that chick with a clean ass whip. I don't need that shit cause I got my own now. I ain't hard, I get tired of fussing, fighting, guess I gotta crack down. Don't mess with me, cause on everything I'ma have to bring the whole city out. And I probably end up laughing cause I never back down. I'm that chick with a clean ass whip. I don't need that shit cause I got my own now. I ain't hard, I get tired of fussing, fighting, guess I gotta crack down. Don't mess with me, cause on everything I'ma have to bring the whole city out.
I know what you're thinking. Is this the booth drafting the circuits? three-way theater, or the Kevin Jackson show? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I kinda lost track myself here on Hoobazoo.com. So, do you feel lucky, punk?
The movie, music, news, television promos, trailers and videos used in this production are protected by the Fair Use Act. Section 107 of the Copyright Act. 1. The purpose and character of the use, including whether such use is of commercial nature or is for nonprofit educational purposes. 2. The nature of the copyrighted work. 3. The amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole. 4. The effect of the use upon the potential market for, or value of, the copyrighted work.
Some elections are complicated. Not this one. Donald Trump and Republicans believe everything is going great.
The state of our union is strong.
Really?
And in fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it.
Okay, got it.
The roaring economy is roaring like never before.
How's your economy roaring? This isn't complicated. Donald Trump and his Republican billionaires believe times have never been better.
The golden age of America is upon us.
Are these guys crazy? Here's the choice. If this is your golden era, vote to keep the same people in power. But if you think we can do better, take a stand and send a message to Washington. Stop patting yourself on the back and do your job.
This is blasphemy. This is madness. This is the rule.
Broadcasting from the City of Champions, Brockton, Massachusetts, with your host, Keith Sinista1 Hayes.
From the City of Champions, you are watching The Booth, and it is April 7th, and wow, it is crazy stuff going on here. A lot of stuff to talk about. I got to thank my guests from last week. Last week I had NCAA Division II head coach on, Greg Clink. We broke down the NCAA Final Four. Big ups to Michigan last night for beating UConn, taking home that NCAA championship. I got to thank Jeremie Marcellus for being on. But it's first Tuesdays. I got my guy Kenneth Diesenhof in the bottom left corner. I got Rob Resnick sitting over here. Tonight we got a special guest, the executive director of Conservatives Concerned, Demetrius Minor. He's been on the booth before. He's on with us tonight. We got a lot of stuff to get into, a lot of stuff to talk about. There's some breaking Trump news. I'm not going to hold it for Trump Trouble segment because it's breaking news. The threat that he had put out on Easter Sunday, it's been pulled back. He's held off now. He's given it a 2-week extension. I'm going to let Rob touch base on that. But as I said, my first guest, let me get into my sponsors here. Michael Douglas Barreto, MDB Electronics. If you need your controller fixed or repaired, send your Xbox controller out to him. Back to game in 48 hours. My artist, Viana Marie, 494,000 streams. Promote and stream her music everywhere. Tactical Target Systems. Those targets that you see me at the range with. I Love Boston Sports. Kimberly Ann Empowerment Photography. Underwatch Protective Services. And my buddy Call Larry, 774-826-6549. And we're still looking for information on Liano Bonato's death about 3 weeks ago now. If you have any information, please contact the Brockton Police. And there was a man that was hit down the street from my house, a homeless man, Chris Proctor. There is a GoFundMe set up by his daughter, Emily. They're trying to reach $15,000. Chris was med-flighted, I believe, to Boston. And then tonight, we've got our special show. I know we usually have a format here, people. We usually talk entertainment, sports, and everything. But because of what's going on and the situation has been just dire straits in this country, tonight's show, once again, it's going to be the same format. We're just going to be discussing about this war in Iran that's going on. But tonight, Demetrius Minor is on with us, our special guest. I'm gonna let Demetrius introduce himself and let people know who he is and why he's on the show tonight.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Keith, for having me as a guest, a returning guest, I'll add. As aforementioned, my name is Demetrius Minor. I am the Executive Director of Conservatives Concern. We're an organization that exists to educate and mobilize conservative libertarians, those who are right of center, on embracing alternatives to capital punishment. We've been in existence since 2012, 2013, with several state chapters and doing some really tremendous work today.
Awesome. As you guys know, Kenneth Diesenhof is down the bottom there. He is a defense attorney, also an immigration attorney, also a family practice law attorney. Thank you, Ken, for being on the show. And then the upper left-hand corner, as you guys know, is Robert Resnick. He's a retired U.S. Army colonel who's now teaching law enforcement here. We're blessed that he's now up here from Florida. He is a retired JAG officer. And, thank you for your service, Rob. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. So turn it over to you, Demetrius, and kind of give us an update as what's been going on with you and, what your progress has been with this group.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. We got some tremendous updates since the last time we've had a conversation. I'll start with November of 2025. There was a felony murder case in the state of Oklahoma. A gentleman by the name of Tremaine Wood. He was charged for a crime he didn't commit, which was murder. What happened was him and his older brother went to commit a burglary, and during the commission of that crime, things took a turn for the worse, and unfortunately, a gentleman was killed, albeit by the hands of his brother. His brother admitted to doing the crime and received a sentence of life in prison without parole. However, the younger brother, Tremaine, received inadequate legal representation and was given a death penalty sentence. But thankfully, through a lot of advocacy and a lot of conversations that took place with Governor Kevin Stitt and his staff, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but up until the minute before the scheduled execution on that Thursday in November, Tremaine was granted clemency. Since the beginning of the year, I've had conversations with pro-life leaders in various states, because it's my opinion and my thought that pro-life leaders and advocates are going to be the key constituency that will help death penalty become a thing of the past. If pro-life leaders are willing to come out and be vocal and supportive of our efforts, we will see our repeal efforts go a very long way. And we're seeing some momentum on that front. I gave a presentation to the Georgia Right to Life Board of Directors, and the majority of the individuals in those rooms had two trains of thoughts. Number one, they're against the death penalty, or number two, at the very minimum, they want to start having conversations about the issue, because this is an issue that is not going away. Just recently, there was another case very similar to Tremaine in Oklahoma, but this was in Alabama. A gentleman by the name of Sonny Burton. He was accused of committing murder in the 90s, I believe. There's only one problem with that. He was nowhere near the proximity of the crime, the proximity of the place where the crime was committed. And Governor Kay Ivey, who is known for pretty much being a hardliner when it comes to the death penalty or any other criminal justice issues, and very rarely in her tenure grants clemency. She issued clemency and commuted the sentence for Sonny Burton, and it's only the second time that she has done such a thing. We've also started a state chapter in Georgia, and we're just increasing our capacity as there are more needs that are flooding in. So that's the latest and the greatest with conservatives concerned.
So you would work with somebody like Ken. Ken's a defense attorney, so Ken would be kind of that guy that would reach out to you guys, and you guys would get that ball kind of rolling and get the necessary stuff needed to push the right buttons. Kind of is that how that would work out? I mean,
that is a correct assessment. And I want to say this to be even more precise. We work hand in hand with the legal team. And so the legal team, even though the legal team is sort of separate from advocacy teams, we work it in harmony with one another. So if the legal team has any reservation or trepidation around advocacy around a certain time or to a certain group of individuals, we take that into serious consideration when we map out our strategy for their particular client. So 9 out of 10, if a legal team does not want advocacy for a certain case, then advocacy is not going to be done. But in our experience, most legal teams welcome as much advocacy as possible.
Ooh, I got to ask Ken that. Ken,
absolutely. As far as the defense counsel is doing, when you use third-party advocacy teams, it lends credibility to what you're saying because judges expect you to argue a certain way. If you can bring in a third-party advocacy team, which has their own agenda, it gives you another avenue of attack where you can work on the legal and factual issues. The advocacy team can work on mitigation and alternatives to sentencing. I work with a number of third-party advocacy teams. One of the most common one I use is More Than Words. They are a team that deal with generally men of color, not exclusively, who have been involved in domestic violence. And what they do is they try to hook them up with programs to deal with their mental health issues and their anger issues and their issues with regarding maybe spousal abuse. And they have got an incredibly high level of trust within the court system because they're known if someone ain't cutting the mustard, they kick them out.
Right.
They're very different. And I used them one of my more recent cases, and we worked with them a while. They not only deal with the anger issues, they were helping with job training. Matter of fact, I didn't realize this till they told me. They also have our licensed provider for GED preparation. And for those of you who know, it's General Equivalency Diploma. And my guy actually got his GED while we were doing his case. And that really, when we got to sentencing, because he pled out, that made a big difference with the judge. The judge went on the record and said, look, I was ready to throw you in jail, but I've seen the progress you've made with this advocacy team. I saw you got your GED, which that's very good. I see that you're applying to community colleges. And frankly, I'm going to give you what we call a suspended sentence. What it means is you're sentenced to jail, but we don't actually enforce it for a set period of time. Because I'm allowing you to go to college and continue with this particular program. There are a number of programs. There are Wounded Warrior projects. Believe it or not only deals with physical injuries, they deal with psychological injuries. The VA programs that are gone beyond number give me a lot of leeway when I bring them in. One of the old advocacy programs is Alcoholics Anonymous. I've had sponsors come in and say, and I have the judge saying, well, is he going to meetings? Yeah, he goes to this meeting on Tuesday and this meeting on Friday, and actually make it part of their probation, saying, okay, you're on the right path. So I'm going to make it a condition of probation that you deal with this issue. So yes, absolutely. I think they're great. I don't know a lawyer who doesn't like legitimate third party advocacy programs. There are a couple of fly by nighters out there, and then they get known very quickly.
Rob, in the military, are military cases, are you allowed to use third party advocacy in military cases, or no?
There's no rule against it. It's up to the defense team to work with them. And in my experience, it's happened. I can think of at least one time where I've seen it, so I know it happens.
Wow. Okay.
It's funny, Demetrius, when you said an Oklahoma case, I thought for sure you were going to say Julius Jones. Did you guys work on that?
Yes. So that was in 2021, and actually that was the first case I worked on when I came on board, Conservatives Concerned. And I was only on the case for a couple of months because the decision was rendered 3 months after I came on board. But yes, that was the first time I was introduced to work in Oklahoma, actually.
I was so angry about the way that case was handled by Oklahoma that I signed my name to his brief at the end. I was one of the people who wrote the brief that ultimately got him commuted. They didn't. He deserves a new trial. In fact, he shouldn't be tried at all. He should be exonerated. But he should at least get a new trial because of the evidence that came forward, where the person who really did commit the crime confessed, and Oklahoma says that's not good enough for an appeal. Well, go F yourself, Oklahoma. But the bottom line is the governor. I think it was Stitt's predecessor, but maybe it was Stitt. I don't remember actually. But the governor
Stitt was the governor at that time.
Well, okay, so Stitt at least did the right thing. It was literally seconds away from execution, where the
Correct.
governor at least commuted it to life, and now he can at least try to get appeals. And I'm not involved in the case. I was asked to put my name on the brief as someone who had worked on capital cases in the past, and I was happy to do it, especially because I believe 100% in his innocence. But
correct. And Stitt has only granted clemency twice.
Yeah.
Once to Julius Jones and to the aforementioned case of Tremaine Wood. And Oklahoma has a horrid history when it comes to death penalty. And this includes botched executions. They're one of the states with the largest numbers of exonerees. At one point in time, they did have a moratorium. We have a campaign currently ongoing in Oklahoma that will reinstate a 2-year moratorium on the death penalty for lawmakers to discuss amongst themselves, to implement a task force on what is going wrong with capital punishment. My thoughts is, if you're going to implement the one punishment that is irreversible, you want to make sure that you get it right. You want to make sure that all your ducks are lined up in a row. Unfortunately, Oklahoma has proven that they're unable to do that.
Wow. Ken, anything you want to speak on Oklahoma?
Yeah, just one last thing. I think we need to explain what the felony murder doctrine is. All of us here understand it, but let me explain to you why I personally, as a criminal defense attorney, thinks it should be deemed to be unconstitutional.
Yes.
Felony murder doctrine states that if you are involved in a crime and someone is, I'm going to use the technical term, there's a homicide committed. Because murder is its own thing. You call it murder, manslaughter. The homicide committed, everybody involved in the crime is equally guilty, whether they had A, knowledge of the crime,
or intent,
B, were the participant in the crime, or C, were even there. I was giving support. I was not lead counsel. It's very important. There was a murder case from Massachusetts a number of years ago where there was a armed robbery that occurred at a Burger King, I believe. It was Burger King or McDonald's, I don't remember. And no one was killed at the Burger King. The occupants left. They were chased by state police, and they were cornered in it was on we call Cape Cod, and it was cornered in a small town called Onset, which has got probably the world's worst police department from a sheer competence point of view. They have had more chiefs of police fired for incompetence and thievery. They're constantly getting lawsuits for civil rights violations, whatever. So what happens is, the state police, the state police chasing this guy, for whatever reason they weren't communicating with each other,
There's various reasons. Some say they didn't have the right frequencies, whatever. Someone say state police didn't call them, whatever. So anyway, so you got all of these two different departments going there with two different sets of what we call rules of engagement, use of force. Long story short, these clowns in the car try to outrun Motorola, which you can't do. They ended up crashing, and this is where it gets controversial. The defense team said they were putting up their hands. State police says it was an ongoing situation where they were getting in the car, but we didn't see any firearms, whatever. On-set police say they saw a firearm and ended up shooting them. They were so incompetent, they missed 3 of them from 20 feet away. They ended up killing committing a homicide on one of the 4 people. He died. There's also some question of whether the state police and on-set police delayed medical attention. That's a whole separate issue. So, now, question to the board, to the member. Who should be charged with the homicide of the 4th person? Should it be the individuals involved in the crime, the state police, or the on-set police? And I want to be very clear. There is no question that the on-set police were the ones that used their firearms. Neither the state police nor the 4 individuals guard did not use it. Even though all had firearms, they didn't use it. It was on-set police. Who do you think gets charged?
The survivors.
Okay, go one for the survivors. What about you, Rob?
Oh, I already know the answer to it, so I wasn't going to say anything.
Okay. Mr. Miner, what do you say?
Yeah, I'm with Rob.
Okay. Well, you're all right. The 3 individuals were charged with under the felony murder doctrine. We in the legal community were going, wait a minute. This was a use of force policy. They violated the terms use of force policy, by the way, which, by the way, was impounded. And of course, they're all convicted. Now, it's very important to know armed robbery is what we call a life felony in Massachusetts. We don't have capital cases. So they could have gotten a life felony for the armed robbery. They probably would have, based on their record. So they were all convicted of felony murder. Now, they all appealed it. And one of the issues is, could you charge a dead man with his own murder? I said, wait a minute. If you're saying that all the people involved in the armed robbery were guilty of the crime, then shouldn't the person who got homicided be charged with the crime? Now, I didn't think that one of the people at CPCS did, because that really caused the court to have a lot of problems, because the doctrine says it's all or nothing. In Massachusetts, if you're arguing conspiracy, everybody's got to get involved or no one gets involved, which is the way. The SJC did upheld the felony murder conviction, saying, no, this was, if a police officer homicides one of the individuals, they all can be charged because they put the effects in motion. But they did say they were very concerned about this. So how do you like that? You have a department that violates its own use of force policy.
Yeah.
One of the code is killed. All the other 3 were trying, at least from the defense point of view, were trying to surrender, but there was no evidence. The state police all testified they didn't see a gun. There were 4 state police officers. They all said, no, we didn't see. We knew they had firearms from the report, but when we pulled them out of the car, we didn't see any firearms. The 2 officers on set, one on set said, I saw something, could be a gun. I'm not going to testify it's going to be a gun. The guy showed him, I saw a gun. That's the felony murder doctrine, and that's why I hate it. One last story, because I know I'm burning up a lot of time. There was another.
I'll get my pillow.
Yeah, there was another case in Massachusetts for felony murder where a guy was called. He drops off his friend's house. He drives away. They go in. It's a drug rip-off. They kill the guy. It should be a manslaughter. It wasn't murder. And then he called, hey, pick us up. He comes to pick us up. He picks us up, drives him away. He's charged with felony murder. Even though he physically wasn't even there. But that's why I hate
didn't even know. Wow.
No.
So these are the type of things that Demetrius would be involved with.
Yeah.
In making sure these people, wow. And, to hear that about Oklahoma is just crazy. Crazy. Wow.
Yeah. It's not just Oklahoma. It's Alabama. It's Massachusetts. That's my new friend just said here. And
felony murder is 50 states. All 50 states have a version of the felony murder doctrine. It differs slightly from state to state about the level of involvement you have to be. I think Texas, if some guy texted you, "Hey, we're going to go, kill this guy," you can be charged with felony murder because you had knowledge of it, even though you didn't participate, you weren't there. But that's Texas. They'd murder. They'd execute a baby.
Now, how do you do the fundraising? How do you raise funds for this, Demetrius? This program?
Well, that's the most important question you've asked me all night. I would be remiss if I didn't tell people to go to www.conservativesconcern.org and you will see a donate tab. Please utilize that and throw a few bucks our way. We get grants from various sources, major donors, individual donors, but I'm always happy and honored to spread the word there.
I'm actually putting it in the chat right now. Conservatives Concerned.
Conservativesconcern.org.
.org. Okay, .org. All right, I just dropped that in the chat. We've got some people in the chat. There's Z-Man in the chat. He says state can't communicate to locals over the radio. The dispatcher has to make the communication except of air wing. So he was talking about some of the issues that they could have had down the Cape. So, Demetrius, you want to shout out your social media for both?
You can find me on Twitter at the Rev D Minor. You can find me on Instagram at dminor85. If you're looking to follow the work, you can find us on Twitter or X, however you want to address it, at CCATDP, and on Instagram at Conservatives Concerned. And of course, you can find me and Conservatives Concerned on Facebook as well.
So, and just real quick, how would one start the process? What would you need to have going on? Does the person need to be incarcerated for you to get involved, or can this person be facing trial?
So, there's many ways to get involved. If we're talking about bringing attention to a specific case, then ideally that person's incarcerated, that person's on death row awaiting an execution date, or perhaps an execution date has already been scheduled, and so now we're working with the legal team. But we're also involved in a policy level. So if you're in a state that has the death penalty and you want to see it repealed, or if you have some questions about how capital punishment is utilized, then please reach out to me. We can have a conversation. So obviously there's the legal way that we're involved. There's the advocacy way that we're involved. Most of our work is advocacy, having conversation with lawmakers, policymakers, on a state level. That's mostly, that's kind of like the bread and butter of our work. There's different ways of getting involved. I welcome those who are of the pro-life community who oppose capital punishment because it's in conflict with their pro-life views. That is a campaign that we're trying to put a heavier emphasis on. So if you're a fiscal conservative, cultural conservative, social conservative, your voice matters.
All right, cool. Now, you want to hang out with us, man, and talk some stuff?
I'm going to have to run, guys, but I will be tuning in.
All right, cool. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show, man. Thanks for hanging out with us, and it's great stuff. Let me take actually, you can just pop out, and I'll switch right over right now. But thank you, Demetrius.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, team. Right. You guys be blessed.
Care. All right, bye. All right, so let's see here. So I got to fix it now because we're back, and I got to get Rob on camera here because I'm not seeing Rob on camera here. Let me work on Rob to get Rob on camera, but I've got Ken on tonight, and we're going to start off with
I have a face for
tonight.
Radio. It's okay.
Yeah, well, no, Rob was just going out to the burrito truck, grab some burritos.
We're gonna start off with Ken tonight. I know last month we started off with Rob and gave it to Rob, but I want to start off with Ken tonight because, as you guys know, the DHS has been turned upside down, and as you guys know, Greg Bovine, who's responsible for the debacle in Minnesota, he has been removed from his position. Not only has he been removed from his position, Kristi Noem has been removed from her position at DHS. And, a lot of these people are talking, the MAGA people are like, well, these people are getting better positions and no, when you're at that level, nobody gets fired. You always get transferred, and they always make it seem like you're getting this new cushy position. But at the end of the day, you're fired. You're fired. And what I feel like is President Trump knows that the Minnesota murders it's coming. Kristi Noem was about to be questioned. And they got rid of her. Pam Bondi was about to be questioned on some items in DHS. And, this whole immigration, the rumor now is that Stephen Miller is about to answer for this crap with the DHS. Ken's an immigration attorney. You've been saying this. You've been saying they've been stepping on people's rights. You said that this country's probably headed for some of the biggest class action lawsuits in regards to rights. When you look at this in the beginning, when he put Kristi Noem and all these people into play, the first thing they did was they went after Venezuelan immigrants here in this country. And then how funny is it that they decide to go into Venezuela? Then the second thing you do, you start going after Iranian students on colleges. And then later on, now you decide to help Israel and go into Iran. And it makes you kind of wonder, was this all part of this plan from the get-go, Ken? Where you've got 2-3 of the countries that we've invaded, and 3 of those countries were people that we focused our immigration attacks on in this country. So I'm going to start off with you, Ken, and talk about what you're hearing about this DHS. And, there's obviously they've lost some lawsuits already. They've had some families. You don't hear anything about Abrego Garcia anymore because the judges have been ruling in his favor, everything that they've turned up. So I'm going to let you get on this, Ken.
Okay, great. I think what you have is a case of correlation versus causation. They were targeting Iranians and Venezuelans. That's true. What you're not hearing is they were targeting everybody else. Basically, if you had brown or black skin, they were targeting you. And I've had cases from people, both Iraqis, even Saudi Arabians, believe it or not, Algerians, Tunisians, and Moroccans too. Very simple. And not to mention the fact that we've got Mexican, Costa Ricans, Brazilians. I could go on the list. I spent the entire evening talking about the list. So no, I don't think there was any link between the two. It just happened to be, they were brown and black. As for the firing, it's very simple. Trump he's got streets named after him. They're called One Way. He is all about protecting Trump, and he felt both Pam Bondi and Kristi Noem were not sufficiently throwing themselves under the bus to protect him. They were, they basically, as incompetent and as horrific they are, they weren't doing enough to protect Trump, and I frankly think there's nothing that can protect Trump. Issue another day. And that's the reason he got fired. The other third reason, and this is the reason, it's what drives me crazy when people say, well, the reason I voted for Trump was he's not a politician. Okay. He's also not a lawyer either. And he figured by firing them, he could keep them away from testifying at Congress. Because they're no longer an active cabinet member. Well, boys and girls, as a former staffer on the Senate side, I worked for subcommittee on for Pat Leahy and also on the subcommittee of Technology and Law of the Judiciary Committee. Subpoena power is universal. It's like the Marine Corps. It applies to everyone. The old joke about the Marine Corps is the most woke organization in the world because they treat everybody like bleep, and they do. Same thing with the Congress subpoena power. It applies to everybody. Sinista1, you could be summoned to Congress to testify about anything. You may not know it, but you could be given a subpoena. Even though you've never been a federal employee, you've never been a cabinet official. Rob and I could both be subpoenaed in to talk about. Our guest could be subpoenaed in to testify. Your sons could be subpoenaed to testify. Your father could be subpoenaed to testify. So he figured, well, they're no longer cabinet officials, then the oversight committees won't have jurisdiction over them. That's not true. And whoever's giving him that advice is an idiot, and maybe Trump just thought about himself. Yes, these class actions are going forward. Yes, people are getting annoyed. And all I can say is good riddance to bad trash. My hope is, and granted, this is a forlorn hope, I admit, these people are actually held accountable. They actually go to jail. Because what they did was illegal. Okay? Simply because you're a cabinet secretary doesn't give you presidential immunity. You can be held responsible for violating civil rights, and you can be sued for violating civil rights of these individuals. So, yeah, unfortunately, Rob and I were talking about this offline a little while ago, and Rob made the excellent point that the people that are going to replace him are going to be just as bad, possibly worse. And I think Rob is right about the second part. I think they'll be worse.
Wow. Crazy stuff. With these lawsuits, we're seeing one of the families that was a very it was viral. One of the families, they already settled with one of the families. Mm-hmm. And it was a very minor thing, but one of the big things that we're seeing is a lot of these people who are getting paid are people who were snatched up and then they were sent to other countries or to other states without the proper notification to because some of these people had immigration, they had people like you already hired.
Yes.
And you were never informed. So can we talk about that, where that lawsuit comes into play about people not being informed and being snatched up and sent off?
Okay. So let me explain. There is something called the Code of Federal Regulations. They are the regulations that departments must follow. What happens is when you have a law, it's very broad. They don't fill in the details. So they create the CFR regulations, and they're very minute, and they tell you exactly what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, how you're supposed to do it. So with regards to immigration, when you are snatched up, you must be given something called the NTA, which is notice to appear. That lines up what you've done wrong. And also on the bottom of it tells you what your court date is, when your court date, and where your court is. For example, if you're in Massachusetts, you go to the JFK building in downtown Boston, E170. That's where you start. You're also supposed to be told when you get, booked is probably the wrong word, but when you're in the process, they ask you to fill out a portion of the form that defines contact information, emergency contact information, whether you have a healthcare proxy or not, and do you have legal counsel. The reason for that is if you have a medical emergency, the emergency contact person has to be contacted. If you have legal counsel, your lawyer has to be told 3 things. What are the nature of the charges? What immigration court's covering it? And most importantly, the third one, what facility you're being held at and the contact and where they can find the rules for contact information. Okay? They're not doing that anymore. I know this because I have a case right now. I'm working with another attorney named Dave Kyle, who I believe you may have met, Sinista1. Mm-hmm. We have a woman who supposedly, we don't know because we're still trying to figure out, has got a case in Boston. We actually found the case. We thought she was in the Nashua Street facility. And we called Nashua Street. No, we don't have her. We then contacted the local detention office, which ironically is located in Burlington, Vermont. That's the headquarters. And we eventually found out that she was in New Orleans, in that detention facility. We called New Orleans facility, and after about 3 days of arguing and threatening, we confirmed that she's there. And that we have permission to go visit her, provided we give them 7 days notice. Which is wrong, but the issue not there. And I said, what's she doing in New Orleans? She came to Massachusetts, lived in Massachusetts. The crime allegedly occurred in Massachusetts. What's she doing in New Orleans? So we are in the process of filing a motion to have her brought up to Boston because I don't feel like flying down to New Orleans. It's too much money. They are doing that a lot if taking people and putting them in detention facilities that are way outside the jurisdiction of the immigration court. And they're doing that on purpose. Why? Because it makes it very difficult for the lawyers to come contact them. And I'm doing that, which is, by the way, it's a violation of the CFR. There are regulations concerning where you should be detained. And DHS has flexibility of where they can detain you within a region. Now, it's very important. Again, Rob will break out his pillow here in a second, I know. The immigration courts are divided up into region. We are in region 1. which means under the guidelines, you can put someone in any jail within Region 1, which is Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. Connecticut actually is in Region 2, even though it's in New England. That's the greater metro area. Now, under the guidelines, they said we can put you in a detention facility with anywhere within those regions. Most of the people get put in one of two facilities. ACI Cranston, which is a federal facility, or a couple of the three of the facilities in Massachusetts, either Plymouth House Correction, Nashua Street, which is Suffolk County, or Hampton, or the Westfield Hampton facility for women. There's also a small, I mean literally small, micro facility in Burlington, Vermont that can hold like 20 people. Why she's in Region 6, which is New Orleans, I have no idea. It's a violation of their own regulations. And they're doing it a lot.
Wow. So Z-Man's in the chat. He says the whole debacle with ICE makes ICE look horrible. They are real agents who are good, hardworking agents. These yahoos, and he nails it, just in a nutshell. The yahoos that they hired with the $50,000 bonus, we know who most of these people are. They're Proud Boys. They're all these guys who couldn't even cut it to be cops, but because they had this $50,000 sign-on bonus, and it was flooded with these people who don't know what they're supposed to do. They've leaked some of this training that these guys are getting and these women are getting, and a lot of it is horrible stuff. They're not even following regulations. So Z-Man says it's embarrassing, and that's true. Question for Rob. As far as immigration, we're seeing a lot of stories now pop up where I just saw a military service member got married just a few weeks ago, and ICE came and took his wife. And I'm saying to myself, how does that even happen on a base or out? So I guess they were outside the base. They got her outside the base. But still, I don't get it. This isn't the first story of this kind. There's been husbands of service members who are snatched. How does this happen, Rob, within the military itself?
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer that in a second. I just want to reiterate what you guys have just been talking about. Obviously, violating the regulations and violating the law. I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg. I mean, they are just wholesale ignoring the law. They've basically ripped up all the statutes and regulations that pertain to the proper way to process, immigration issues and people and their hearings, because that's what's been going on. They've been denying due process. They've been denying the legal process. They've been denying representation and just secreting people away. That's why they send people from Massachusetts to Louisiana and people from California to Florida, because they secret them away where they don't have access, like you said, to the attorneys, but also to their families, where they just, nobody's checking, and they give up. And so, and then from there, they send them to some country in Asia or Africa where they didn't even come from. So this thing is a disaster, and to Z-Man's point, obviously the ICE agents that they've hired aren't the ones making these policy decisions. This is why Trump picked Nome in the first place. This is why he put Bovino in there in the first place. I mean, all these people were picked to do this very thing. So the buck stops in the White House. But, I like that Z-Man pointed this out, because I like to say it myself when we talk about this. The majority of agents are properly trained and trying to do the right thing. What we see on the news, and obviously it's way too many of these folks because they hired so many of them, but these are the yahoos that don't have anything. They have no right doing any federal, state, or local, whether it's law enforcement or administrative, whatever it is, they have no business doing it. They should be pig farmers. That's about what they should be doing. Wow. They should be picking up trash. That's about the extent of what they should be doing. They should be living in trailers collecting welfare. That's who they're hiring for ICE, okay? These are people who don't have the intellect. They don't have the physical ability. They don't have the integrity. They have nothing. And in addition to paying them all this money, what we've talked about on this show and on Corridor was the fact that they've abbreviated the training. They've eliminated significant portions of what is required training. They've just don't do it anymore. And I think the overwhelming majority of Americans, regardless of your views on any of these issues, when you see all the training that was cut out, you'd say, well, this is unacceptable. And this is why we're where we're at today. And so let me answer your question. I apologize for that, but I wanted to just add my 2 cents in support of what Ken was saying. The military, this is not a new issue. This has been going on for a long time because there are families who have come to the United States, right? And their children, not just dreamers, but their children of whatever status, a lot of them join the military because that is a way to get obviously a career, benefits, GI Bill, and all these different things. It's a great opportunity for people that don't have necessarily a lot of other opportunities. And I'm not saying they're not qualified. You have to be qualified still. But this is an option for people to do that. I'm not saying they're not qualified or that they're bad soldiers or Marines or anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is an opportunity for people, to avail themselves of it. Also, what the federal law says is you can get fast-tracked to citizenship through military service for your family. That is the big incentive for them, because even if they were not inclined to do military service, they could shave years off of the process and get their families here with, not just green cards, but citizenship, fast-tracked citizenship. You have to be a legal status to be in the military in the first place. You can't be undocumented and join the military. You have to have legal status. And so obviously what has happened, and I saw this myself because, as Ken knows, some of my assignments were at training locations where you've got basic training graduations and advanced training graduations and all kinds of graduations. And invariably at some of these, people's families would show up at the gate to get in, and you have to produce ID to get on a military installation. They would show ID and they would come up as, guess what? Undocumented. And so we were in a terrible position, and this is in multiple installations, where it's up to the commanding general. It's not a legal issue, it's a command issue. Do you let them on the installation? And most of them said yes. Let them come and watch their sons and daughters graduate from military training. They're not here to spy. They're not Russian or Chinese agents. And so most of them were let in, but sometimes they would get detained by, it wasn't ICE. Well, it was ICE, but it was not the current ICE regime. It was, when they were following rules and what have you. And so, that may be unfortunate. That didn't happen too often. But one of the things that you just asked about, I read about this case too. I saw it, where you had a service member who had come back from deployment, was married, and was trying to get his wife her ID card. She's entitled to an ID card as a dependent spouse. And he took her to the personnel office where they make the ID card. She had an appointment. She went and got her ID card, and ICE was waiting and arrested her. And I thought it was on the installation, not outside the gate. But maybe I have that detail wrong, or maybe there's more than one case, obviously. But the thing is that this is the way ICE is playing, right? That what they were supposed to be doing is looking for people that obviously were here, unlawfully. They came in violation of the law and don't have proper papers and whatever. And to some extent, if they're following proper procedure and they're following the law and due process, most Americans support this. However, they're not doing that. First of all, they're grabbing people that shouldn't be grabbed. A spouse of an active duty service member who just got her ID card is not a threat to the United States. That's not the person ICE is supposed to be, rounding up right now.
Right.
And there are better ways to do it than arresting her on the military post, for goodness sake. And that's just like bad faith, if you ask me. And, and I support immigration enforcement. I support strict immigration enforcement, but you have to follow the damn law. You have to apply due process. You have to, Congress makes the law. Now, we've been without an updated immigration system for 40 damn years. We've talked about it on this show. We've talked about it on Corridor. So shame on Congress of all stripes. I recognize what's happened. I know that, the Republican majority in the Senate has refused to allow some bipartisan legislation to go to both President Obama and President Trump because they were afraid of what was going to happen. I get it. But look, 40 plus years belongs to both parties, if you ask me. And to be fair, one may be a little bit worse than the other. But the problem is nobody made it a priority. And so, we've got this issue where we don't know what the hell we're doing on immigration. We know that the American people have bought into the fact that we have a problem, but nobody understands how to fix it. And it's not going to be fixed by ICE. It's going to be fixed by fixing the damn law. and applying due process the way our Constitution guarantees it and the way the American system and our freedom guarantees it. That's what has to happen. And it's not just about the military. Yes, I find it offensive that they did it to the military, but everybody should be treated the same, and that means in accordance with the law.
Yeah, and we talked about this. We've talked about this on the show before. It was even an issue in the false narrative. We talked about the fact that the system is antiquated, the system is shorthanded, and Biden had hired new judges and new people to kind of speed up the legalization process. And one of the first things President Trump did when he got in was he fired those extra judges that he added, that was added, and those workers to process the legalization paperwork. Ken's always complained about it and said, hey, COVID made it even worse because they were already behind the 8 ball. COVID hit, and then that just added to the floodgates of people needing to be naturalized in that process, and they didn't even replace the people that they were already short. And so when Trump came in, he created that whole narrative by firing those, I think it was like 12 or 15 judges that they had hired to kind
keep going a lot higher.
More? Oh shit! I thought it was only like
2,000.
Oh wow!
Now let me be perfectly precise about what we're talking about. So what happened in Biden's last budget? There was a provision that allowed him to hire up to 1,500 ALJs, which are administrative law judges. They hadn't been hired yet. And their budget authorization increased the amount of money they had for ALJs. And as Rob can tell you, you don't hire an ALJ overnight. He applied for one. It's a very long process.
2 years.
So what Trump did, he did, and I think he did this illegally, he reassigned that money to enforcement. He took it out of one category and very upset. So none of those judges were hired. Then he did a buyout provision for approximately 300 to 400 other judges that were close to retirement, but were not at retirement, to get rid of them. Now the argument what we're going to do is, the longer you stay in government service, the higher up you go. You get more money. If you hire a new ALJ, he gets paid or she gets paid less. The idea is we'll get rid of these high budget buster judges. We'll hire a bunch of new judges at a lower rate. Okay, that makes a certain amount of financial sense. Not a lot, but a certain amount. But he never then hired them. So we're about 1,700 judges down. And I'm talking across the country, not just in this area. And you got to remember, ALJs operate both within the continental U.S. and Hawaii and Alaska, and also all of our territories. There are ALJs in Puerto Rico, in Guam,
Virgin Islands,
in the American Virgin Islands. It's funny, I was on a cruise not too long ago, and I actually went to see the immigration facility at American Virgin Islands. I was just curious. I walked in, showed them my ID. The clerks showed us all around. They couldn't have been nicer. Because I was wondering, do you ever have people who come off of cruise ships? He said all the time. Workers off the cruise ships all the time. But I'm digressing here. If I may say something about ICE, and this is one of the founding myths of ICE. How many violent criminals has ICE taken into custody under their own inclination, that not because they work with other agencies or got information? How many violent criminals has ICE taken into custody since they were created do their own separate investigations?
Since they were created back in 2010, I think it was, or
no, it's 2002, 2012.
2002? 10?
They've never done one. Because they're not set up to do that. The way ICE is set up to do is they are tied into local, federal, and state courthouses. So when someone pops after doing a plea, then they pick them up. They do not do independent investigations.
Right, which is where all the problems are, yes.
This is the reason. If you have a certified conviction or a certified quaff or whatever, that is deemed prima facie evidence that you are in violation of immigration law. They don't need to bring in any witnesses. They just bring in the piece of paper. That's it. If they were doing an independent investigation, then they have to bring in witnesses. And they have to do investigations. ICE is not equipped to it. The TAs, trial attorneys, and DHS are not equipped to do criminal trials. I know, I've met them. Nice people, highly competent in what they do. They're not criminal prosecutors. They couldn't try a case if their life depended on it. So ICE doesn't do that. Remember, ICE's predecessor was the INS Enforcement Unit, okay, which is INS EU. It was a teeny organization no one ever heard of, because that's all they did. They would go to courthouses and find criminals who had been convicted or pled out, and they would collect them then. They don't do investigations. They're not set up to do investigations. They wouldn't know how to do an investigation. Like I said, if it, beat them over the head with it. And this is what the illusion is. And also, the people that ICE is picking up are not criminals. They're not, okay? As I said this before, tubbing over the border without being properly investigated or inspected is not a criminal offense.
Right. It's like a
It may be a violation of the law, which it is, and Rob's absolutely right about that. But as I stated before, we have two types of violation of the law. We have civil and criminal. Taking your Hummer and parking it in a handicapped spot is a violation of the law. But you can't be arrested for it. It's a non-criminal offense. ICE is targeting non-criminal people and claiming they're horrible people. Now, as for to make the matter worse, I don't know if you heard about the story, and I actually had this verified, but actually I called the PR section of the base, and they admitted it to me, that the most recent graduation in San Diego, the Marine Corps has two main bases where they train recruits, Parris Island and San Diego. And ICE showed up at the graduation and was checking papers of parents of the people and relatives of the newly. I called the San Diego PR office and asked them if that was true or not. And they said, yep, there's nothing we can do about it. We think it's horrible. They said the commanding general actually issued a statement saying how he thought it was freaking awful that, they're coming in and protecting our country.
Can I just add to that, Ken?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to steal your thunder, but I don't want to forget to say this.
No, go.
When I was on active duty before President Trump, the commanding general could have said no.
Yes.
What President Trump and Secretary Kegbreath have done is to say they've taken that power away from the base commanders and have told them that they want ICE to go. And so they've been basically overruled by, higher level. That just shouldn't be done.
Right. In fact, matter of fact, that the person I talked to said that they were told, and she told me this off the record, said, don't do it it's not for attribution, but we were told that we were required to cooperate with ICE, but don't put anything in writing.
Right.
Well, I'm going to use this to segue now to Rob, because we got about 6 minutes left and get into this. As we all know, it said breaking news, President Trump is dialed back on his Easter threat. He's now giving Iran another 2 weeks. And you said this was because Pakistan got involved. I'm going to let Rob talk real quick, but I do have some questions for you, Rob, real quick before we get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've been watching the Iran thing very closely from the get-go. I'll just answer the specific question and see where you go with that. But President Trump said today that he will delay, the threat to, to bomb all the bridges and power plants. And what did he say? Destroy the civilization, I think were his words.
Yep.
He delayed that for 2 weeks at the request of Pakistan. The Prime Minister of Pakistan and the Speaker of their parliament. He said, anyway, that both of those individuals called him and they spent a long time on the phone and they asked him, how he tells the story, oh, sir, and, to ask him to delay. And so he agreed to do that for them because they're supposedly meeting with the Iranians and they say that there's a good possibility of productive talks in the next, week or so if he were to do this. So he did that. I first of all, obviously that would be a reason to delay it. If there's a real possibility of some kind of an agreement, that would be a reason to, to pause your action. And so to that extent, I wouldn't criticize it. I'm somewhat not sure if it really happened. It may be that he called it off because he saw what was going on in the public square where he was getting his butt kicked, even by Republicans who were talking about these threats of war crimes and, the ongoing concerns about, U.S. operations. I have a feeling it was more that and not really anything that came from Pakistan. But if he needs to make an excuse to avoid doing something even worse, then so be it. And if an agreement comes out of it, then fine. But I don't think his story is accurate. But at least we're not going to commit war crimes tonight.
Actually, if I may say something, he's already committed a war crime.
Oh, he's already been. I meant new ones. Sorry.
Yeah,
the ones he threatened.
But I also like to point out that wiping out a civilization is genocide.
Yeah,
that's a war. Even threatening that is a war crime.
Yeah, however you interpret those words. But remember the nice thing about Hegseth, who changed his department to the Department of War, so he's now the Secretary of War Crimes.
There you go. Absolutely.
So, getting back into the military, we've had a lot of stuff go down that I had to ask Rob. And first and foremost, it all really started with an Instagram post from Kid Rock. Kid Rock puts up an Instagram post with him standing outside saluting 2 Black Hawk helicopters. And everybody all of a sudden is like, whoa, what is this all about? Why we've got guys shot down and dying over in Iraq, and you've got 2 Black Hawk. So the Army says, hey, we're doing an investigation. We're going to have an answer. They had an answer. The answer was quick. The answer was within 5 hours because the story broke on a Monday morning at 7. It was by noon that the Army came out. Dan Driscoll, who's the Army Secretary, Dan Driscoll, they did their investigation. They said the entire air crew was suspended. Suspended. So they found they were wrong. They should have never been near an apartment house, a townhouse that close. They went through all the things that they were wrong about. This crew was a training mission. Obviously, someone sent them over there, and I can only guess because in the next few days, Pete Hegseth comes out and he says that he's reinstating this air crew. And Dan Driscoll really had no authority. We had this back and forth. He's been asking for Dan Driscoll, the Army Secretary, to step down. Dan Driscoll has refused. But also in that same week, we have General Randy George, who was removed from his post, who was liked by a lot of people. And the word behind the scenes is that General Randy George was not happy with the current situation of Iraq, and he wasn't happy with the fact that they might be putting boots on the ground and taking over Karg Island. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. One of the things that when Trump was in the first term, his first term, he had guardrails in place. He had people like Mathis. He had all these people from the military who knew international law and what was right and what was wrong and what you could go to jail for. And we've seen people stepping down. We've seen Rob, do you feel that some of these rumors that we're hearing behind the scenes is true? He's getting Hegseth and Trump are starting to get some pushback from their leaders, especially when they moved the like the question I have for you also is they removed ranking from the chaplains. I didn't understand that, but I guess there was a big deal about that also.
Yeah, no, it's different things. First of all, there's a breaking point for anybody. And, the military is supposed to serve without partisanship, regardless of who's in power and all that other stuff. They don't always agree, but they, and so, all of a sudden there's just, I thought the breaking point would have come a little bit earlier than this, but I'm not surprised that it's coming. There are a couple of things that you could point your fingers to that as to why I think that this is the time that this is happening. Number one, because they see that Trump is losing power, right? That he's grossly unpopular across the country for a number of reasons. He's underwater on every major issue. And so now's the time, as Republicans are starting to, not enough, not nearly enough, but at least starting to make some noise. It's the same breaking point for military leaders who are saying, hey, look, if we're ever going to be able to put the brakes on some of these atrocities, now is the time to do that. And so, and people talk about international law and domestic law are identical on these issues. So you don't even have to say international law. We only have to say follow our own United States law. That's how simple this should be. Wow. And so when it comes to the helicopter thing, I wanted to, you said you were going to ask me about it. I wanted to voice, and Ken knows this. I spent a couple of years as the staff judge advocate at Fort Rucker, Alabama, which is the Army Aviation Center. That's where we do all the helicopter training, all the pilots and all the the SEER school, and where everything is there. Just leave it at that. And the safety center is there. And so whenever you have an incident like this, and trust me, they happen. They're knuckleheads, right? Everybody can screw up sometimes. No, I mean, they're not bad people. They make a mistake. You have to investigate it. You have to hold people accountable. You have to teach them a lesson, but you don't necessarily throw them out because of it unless it's really bad, because otherwise you're throwing away all that training. And so for an incident like this, the air crews, somebody, when they were doing their training mission in that area, somebody figured out that they were near Kid Rock's house, or we're going to be flying by Kid Rock's house. And somebody says, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we do a flyby and we wave to him and he waves to, it's just one of those things like frat guys. When frat guys get together and do something stupid, that's what this is. And so they did that, and they got caught because he posted the video. I don't know if they would have gotten caught otherwise. I'd like to think so, because the logs are there. But certainly when he posted it, it got everybody caught. The Army handled this exactly correctly. As if I was at Fort Rucker and whoever is there now in my old position would be doing the very same thing. There are multiple investigations that are required to be done. They're different investigations with different rules and different purposes and all that. And so they would all be done. One of them would have the possibility of disciplinary action, one of the investigations, that is. And so, it was pretty clear that they did something that's against regulations. First of all, you don't fly the way that they flew, near somebody's house, blah, blah, blah. All of the, the logistics behind it, what they did specifically was a violation of various directives, and also going off course, right? I mean, it's not free to fly an airplane, to fly an aircraft of any kind. And so they went off course to go do it, which is also problematic. And so you've got a number of problems with that. And this would all come out in the investigation pretty quickly. It would be very easy to determine that they were not given any orders to do it, that going there wasn't part of their training mission, that they had no right to do it, no authority to do it, no justification to do it. It's a very simple and open and shut investigation.
Yeah, it was pretty fast. So, it was pretty fast when they came back with the answer.
And so what happens is, in an incident like that, the more serious it is, the more action gets taken. And so in any incident like that, they're going to get suspended. Suspended is temporary. That means they're going to get suspended. But if they're not kicked out of the flight program, then they'll make up what they lost, and they'll continue having learned a valuable lesson about life and discipline and rules. And that's what was going to happen. There hadn't been a decision, to make this bigger than just a learning experience for them, a disciplinary action. They were going to serve their suspension. I strongly believe, and I don't know this, I'm not there anymore, but I strongly believe that they were not going to be kicked out. And they certainly weren't going to be sent to prison or anything like that for it.
No.
Okay. And so for Secretary Hegseth to overrule all of this, and not just to overrule it, it's one thing for him to say, no, I don't agree with this, and to order them to be reinstated. That's wrong. He's wrong in that regard, but that would be one thing. But then he makes the public speech, what is it, Carry On Patriots or whatever it is. He makes some ridiculous speech that he's prone to make. And that just adds layers of problems to this. And it just shows how he's wholly unqualified on every level. That's not what a leader does. A Secretary of Defense doesn't overrule a military, in their training mission and their schooling mission and their discipline and all. He should have stayed out of it. No other Secretary of Defense in our history would have intervened in this case. And if they did, they wouldn't have sent such a stupid text message about it, too. So that's the problem with what Hegseth did. It's that, he does have the authority, but it's the authority that he abused it. He abused it. And so, I still think that this flight crew, that these two flight crews learned a valuable lesson. And if they learned the lesson, they're better for it, then that's okay. I wasn't looking for them to be kicked out of the Army or sent to prison or anything drastic like that. But I do think it should have stood. I think they should have finished their suspension and whatever came from it. I think this is a terrible mistake to make.
And if I may add one thing, I'm saying this as a civilian, but who has known a number of people who have served honorably for this country in various services, including Colonel Robov here. But there's something that was always drilled into my head when I was always talking to them about this, about discipline. Chain of command. There is a procedure. You start at the unit level, because the unit commanders oftentimes have some leeway in disciplining their own personnel for some offenses, if I'm right, without going to a formal procedure. And you work your way up the chain of command. You know, the squadron level, the division level, the base commander, the whatever, all the way up eventually to the Secretary of Defense. If it's for whatever, maybe there's a major decision he needs to make or she needs to make, or maybe there's a miscarriage of justice, and he gets or she gets involved after the entire procedure has gone forward. And I think the highest court is the Military Court of Appeals. Am I right, Rob? That's the highest.
You're talking about, well, it depends on what system you're talking about, but
if they've been court-martialed, which we agree.
If they had been court-martialed, then they would have two layers of appeal: the Army Court and then the Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces.
Armed Forces, okay. But there's, like I said, but the Secretary of Defense wouldn't get involved until after that was all done, and we don't even know if they were going to be criminally charged. They may have been just
no, they wouldn't have been.
No, disciplined. I don't think so.
But again, it's possible. I'm just going through, but they would have probably been disciplined. And if I'm again, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, there are a panoply of disciplinary actions they could have taken. Everything from suspension to reduction in rank to maybe they lose some pay. Maybe they're, they were just voluntold to pick up garbage for the next couple of weeks on the base, or restricted to base or something like that, or maybe a retraining. Maybe they have to go. Hey, you need to go back and you take the course on flight operations and regulations and safety. Am I correct?
I mean, realistically, they would have been reprimanded. That's what I would have expected out of this.
Okay. But again, but that would be done at I'm not saying at any level of the military is high, but a relatively low level of command level. You're not getting the Secretary of Defense involved in a reprimand of a couple of guys.
No, the commanding general of Fort Rucker would have issued them reprimands.
Okay, yeah. And that's what way it should have been done. That's the way it should have been done. The Secretary should not have gotten involved.
No,
if there was a question, he should have said, that matter is being taken care of by Fort Rucker. I'm waiting on a report from them.
That's right. And that's what a competent secretary would have done instead of this clown.
Reprimanded them, everybody would have gone about their business. And also, people forget, we spend millions of dollars training our Army pilots. This is not a cheap thing. The people that fly these helicopters, I don't care if it's an Apache, I don't care if it's did the Army still use Chinooks or just the Marine Corps? Chinooks or whatever, it costs them a lot. We spend a lot of time, money, and effort training these individuals who are both officers and warrant officers. So if we kick someone out, we've wasted a couple of $1 million. We're not going to do that.
The other issue I felt was bad was that Hegseth stupidly put eyes on an air crew that really didn't need to have eyes put on him. He should just let the suspension go through and not let these guys. But now because he made it this issue and he blew it up, now everybody's on social media. They're looking for who the air crew members were. Now their names are out there. Now this stuff is going to stick with these air crew members for the rest of their lives. This could hurt them later on because some people will make a decision and say, oh, well, I don't like this. I don't like that Hegseth gets involved in stuff like this, and it's wrong. It's just
exactly. He took a minor disciplinary matter, maybe not minor, but nothing. It wasn't a murder or anything. No one died, and turned it into a political issue, which he should never have done. I agree with Rob's statement. It's a bunch of frat boys decided to do a flyby by Kid Rock. That's exactly what it sounds like to me. Yeah. And I was told by a friend of my brother's, actually who's retired Army. He actually flew Apaches. He said, because he's done flybys, I hit him up on Facebook, and he said he was calling it incredibly stupid because you could have gotten authorization to do that. You fill out, believe it or not, and I kid you not, he called it a DD-215. And you fill it out, that's how you got a request for a flyby. The NFL does this all the time. He said when he was in the Army, he did flybys at a number of locales for various reasons. And that's the form they use. So they could have just filled out the form, and this never would have happened. How do you like that for it?
And before we get out of here, I got to talk to R-Square because, we've had 12. We've had 12 high-ranking officials either step down, as we saw with the drug cartel strikes. We lost an admiral, a decorated admiral who didn't want to be part of this anymore. And now we have General Randy George removed because him and Hegseth had this blow up. But we're at 12. I think it's 12 or 13 we're at that have been either removed from their positions or fired from their positions. We had this thing with the chaplains having their ranks removed. So talk about that real quick before we get out of here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You asked me that before and I got carried away. My apologies on wasting the time there. So first the chaplains. Chaplains are special because obviously they're clergy and their job is clergy. They have limited military authority because they're clergy. In other words, they don't carry weapons, and there's certain things they don't do because it would violate their role as clergy. So chaplains have always been different. Chaplains, they have always worn their faith on their uniform. You got, where other people would put their rank square in their chest, chaplains would have a cross, a Star of David, a Muslim symbol, a Hindu symbol, and they would be recognized as their faith more so than their rank, because that identifies them clearly as a chaplain. Whereas if it was their rank, you wouldn't necessarily see that they were chaplains. And so, I'm not saying that this is done for good reasons, but if it is, it's to highlight the fact, because chaplains you call chaplain. You don't normally call them by their rank. You say Chaplain Joe, Chaplain, whatever. And so it's a little bit different for them. And so I don't know that there's anything nefarious in that per se. It may be more of a recognition that chaplains, are they're clergy and they're called chaplains. So there just may be something. I just don't attribute anything nefarious to that. I'll leave it at that for now in the interest of time. I think it's more problematic. And by the way, one of the 2-star generals that was just fired was the chief of chaplains. And so I don't know if it was in opposition to this or related to this. And so that's why there may be something more to it that we might learn. But for right now, I can at least understand why they would be different, because their uniforms have always been different, because you have your religious insignia more so than your rank. Anyway, the rest of the generals. So as I've understood it, General George was asked not only to, he was fired as the chief of staff of the Army, but was also asked to retire immediately instead of on the normal schedule, which would have been like at the end of the year or something like that. And so he was asked to leave immediately because he told Kegbreath that he would not take those 2 African-American women off the promotion list. They had earned their promotions. They had distinguished careers. They earned their way onto that list. They were competent, capable, dedicated, respected, qualified, you name the adjective. They had it. They deserved the promotion. And, supposedly Trump didn't want them on the promotion list because he doesn't like the idea of having to stand next to black women as senior officers who are black women when he goes and does his thing. And we know he's a racist, and we know he's a misogynist, and all those things. And so is Hegseth is a white nationalist. So I mean, of course, he doesn't want women of color to be promoted. And so it was all too easy for them to just say, well, we're just going to use, again, abuse of authority, right? They have the authority when it comes to promotions. But this is not what that authority is meant to do. The authority has never been meant to just outright discriminate against people of their gender, their faith, their race. That's not appropriate. They were properly screened. The promotions in the military are not easy. It's not like your boss just promotes you one day. There's a process involved. It's a lengthy, detailed process. Your file has to be getting together, and a committee that meets in secret reviews all the files. And so you don't necessarily even know who it is. And those are carefully selected. I sat on a promotion board one time, so I know how it works. And it's a good process. No process is going to be perfect per se. There's always going to be somebody that says, well, why did this person not make it and this person did make it? Great, that happens sometimes. But this was a direct attack on the fact that the president of the just listen to this. The president of the United States and the Secretary of Defense of the United States both said and both believe that they don't want women of color in high ranks. In fact, they don't want them in the military at all, but they were going to deny them their rank to general officer because they could. It's that overt. The racism and misogyny is that overt. There was no reason to do this. And they even said that. And that just tells you, I mean, we've always known who Trump is, and I think people knew who Hegseth was. It's a shame that he got confirmed because he was obviously, as I said at the time, one of the top 2 or 3 least qualified, and right. The guy's a stumbling buffoon. I mean, we'd be better off if he was still drinking, quite frankly. I think he'd be less dangerous if he was drunk on the job than what he's doing. You know, I don't mean that facetiously. I think he's more dangerous doing this.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, remember something, people. You know, it's not about politics. These people don't have politics. They don't have ideologies. They're just extremists. They're nationalists. They don't come. It's not conservative versus liberal or anything like that. Then we'd be out of bounds. That's not what this is. And remember, Hegseth's military career didn't go very well. He was not a successful officer.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ken.
I was just about to. You stole my thunder. I was about to say, hey, when we look at Hegseth's career in the National Guard, you realize how badly you have to freak up in the National Guard.
He couldn't even make major. And, you know, you could say he had performance problems. I think there were disciplinary problems. He had unauthorized ink on him because he had white nationalist ink on him, which you're not allowed to have. And now he proudly displays it. I mean, the guy was a joke of an officer at best. I think it was even worse than that. I'm sure if you found people that served with him, you can get great anecdotes about what a loser he was. He and Tom Cotton, the senator from Arkansas, were probably two peas in a pod. They were the two geeks who sat in the corner and had no friends. I've talked to people who served with Cotton, and they said he was awkward. He had no friends. Nobody liked him. Nobody trusted him. And he sat in the corner by himself all the time. And now look what he does as a result, right? Hegseth was the same thing. He probably sat in the corner drinking by himself instead of just sitting by himself. And he was probably harassing women since he's such a misogynist. But this is who Trump is attracting. This is the thing that bothers me. If it was about liberal versus conservative, I had no problem with the Bush administration versus the Clinton administration. We had great policy debates. It's no big deal. That's not what we're doing now. We're talking about gross incompetence. We're talking about putting people that should be reviled for the extremism that they live their lives with, and we're putting them in the highest positions of trust, and they're failing us. And then we sit back with our shoulders shrugged. I don't understand it.
Well, if I may break in there, Trump and his cronies came in with an idea, and it's wrong, that only white, conservative, rural males belong in the military or any other government office. And he blamed the reason we had women and people of color and different religions there was because DEI. Because clearly these people wouldn't be here but for DEI. When you have two highly capable women of color who are up for general, that basically throws their entire theory out the window. Because everything's
right.
Okay, you want to explain? So that's why he had to get rid of them. Because
of course
that,
and that's why he got rid of General Brown from the Air Force and General Green from the chaplains. Everybody who's black and white women he got rid of too. So it's all women and all people of color.
Right, because that would contradict his theory. And
duh. How hard is it to see the pattern here, folks?
Right, exactly. You know, the old joke, don't interrupt my beautiful theory with ugly facts.
Yeah.
And as another thing I like to point out about the Chaplain Corps, if you ever take a tour of the Pentagon, which I strongly suggest you do a great tour, there's a room that's dedicated to what they call the four chaplains. For those of you who don't know, there are four chaplains. If I remember this correctly, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, there were two Protestants, one Catholic, and one Jewish. They were on a troop transport ship during World War II that was torpedoed. All four
USS Indianapolis, I believe.
No, I think Indianapolis was a cruise. That was the cruise from the Pacific where where one of the Sullivan brothers was on. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, maybe you're right.
There were chaplains who died in the water. Anyway, go ahead. Tell your story.
You may be right. Anyway, those four chaplains gave up their life vests because there weren't enough life vests on for the crew to enlist the men, and they stayed behind to pray for all the members and also for the ship. Unfortunately, as this happens in war many times, the ship went down, and because the water was so cold, those chaplains drowned. So, in honor of their sacrifice, there's I believe it's called the Four Chaplains Room. Maybe it's called something else. In the Pentagon,
it's called the Four Chaplains. If you go to Fort Lewis outside of Tacoma, there's also the Four Chaplains Chapel. It's a beautiful building.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I've never been there, but I knew. And that room is manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with a member of the Chaplain Corps to give counseling any member of the services who happens to be there. And I thought it was a beautiful room. One of the things they show you, they clearly show the four chaplains a beautiful picture. But they don't show their rank, which is kind of interesting. They show that they were, chaplains. They had the David. They had the cross. They had the cross without Jesus on it, which is ironically, if Protestants don't have Jesus on the cross, Catholics do. That's how I was told to tell the difference between the two. But that's just an interesting thing because yes, they do have rank, but yeah, most of them are known by their religious affiliation and very, very well respected. And also, here's something interesting that Rob neglected to tell you about his career. When he was a young railroad guard captain, he was assigned to Fort Monmouth in New Jersey. And you may not, at the time, that the school for incoming chaplains who had just been commissioned was at Fort Monmouth. So actually, Rob lectured, and he gave lectures to that as part of his job. So to many of those chaplains. So I don't know. Was any of the chaplains that got fired one of your former students or no?
Not that I think. I mean, who knows? I wouldn't have known all the names, but yeah, I lectured them on the law of war and military justice. Yeah.
There you go. Just so Bob's got a connection to it. He was too modest to talk about. Thought you should know that this man knows what he's talking about because he's actually done it. And by the way, in case you didn't realize, Rob was commissioned as a first lieutenant, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes.
So you went in front of a promotion board for your captain, major, lieutenant colonel, and colonel. That's 4 promotion boards that you had to go in front of. So you actually been through the process.
Damn. Good stuff. Good stuff. We are at 8:23. Let me get my promo banners up here. These are the promo banners to give you the upcoming events. Those are the hats. Thank you to everybody for all the support. Those are the shows I produce. The booth that you're watching. Oscar Mike Radio on Thursday. Drafting the Circuits on Wednesday. Turnbuckles and Split Liquor Podcast coming up at 9:30. And Maddie C Sports for You and Me. I got to thank everybody who came out to the Easter Community Celebration. I DJ'd that. I froze my butt off on Saturday. We had snow today. Spring Forward takes place on April 11th. You guys saw Jeremie Marcellus on the show here. Also, join us for Neighborhood Cleanup Day. This is put on by Moses Rodriguez, the mayor, who's been doing a lot, getting things done. Pet CPR and First Aid class takes place April 25th at the APCM Center for Animals, which you guys know. Senator Michael Brady is throwing a fundraiser in honor. Oh, okay. It's a committee is throwing a fundraiser in honor of him. And then we have Star Wars Trivia Night, May 4th, Monday night at Deanne's in Abington. You know I'm going to be there. Method Man and the Locks in Redman, Saturday, May 30th at the Ganas Arena. Bat buses are for free until June. That's coming up fast, but I think it's going to be extended. And then Jeremiah is trying to attend the United Austria Games. I believe this is the last week for people to try to raise that money. And then Thursday nights, family fun with music. Thursday nights at the Brockton Public Library, 3:30 to 4:30. Make sure to support that. And then save the date. Boston Brothers' 3rd annual motorcycle car ride takes place July 25th. And then my event, Slingshot for Shriners, takes place August 1st. Rain date August 8th to raise money for Shriners for Children. And then the Brockton Police Department wants you to know that they'll be closing down the Salisbury Brook Bridge, which is the Newbury Street Bridge. It began last month and it's closed till October. Brockton Paint Nights. Join us the last Saturday of every month, 7 to 9, $20 per person at the Enzo Flats. And that's it. I'm going to go around the horn here, let these guys say goodbyes. I'm going to go with Ken Diesel first.
I want to thank all of our listeners and viewers, all 12 of you, guys, gals, be safe, and we'll see you next month, or right near the International Day of the Worker. Those of you who know that. Right.
Jesus, it's going to be May when you guys come back on. Man, almost halfway through the year already. R squared.
Yeah, we've run our mouths enough tonight. Great show. Thanks for listening. Hope you found it useful and looking forward to the next one.
And R squared has been super busy over at the Corridor. Guys, go over there, check it out. He has been putting a lot of pieces out. You know, the situation in this country is dire. The format that you are seeing If you've been in my chat and you're asking me what about other topics, there are no other topics for First Tuesday right now. I feel like the situation is just too dire. I also feel like we really need to get people involved and people get them the knowledge that they need to know about this administration, because midterms is a big deal. Ken and these guys, we vote, we talk about it. Midterms is a very big deal. Right now, Republicans have flipped already. 30-something seats have been flipped. You also have had 20-plus GOP senators and members of Congress have said, hey, we're not running after midterms. So there is a pretty good chance it looks like the Democrats are really going to make some noise. But the worry that we've all had on this show, and we've said it, and we're seeing it, is the suppression to vote. Rob, as you see in the back up there, he has We the People behind him. It's very scary, that he put a bill out there, and it's some scary things, people. So if we do have this chance to vote in November, make sure to vote. But if you have special elections, Ken, real quick, tell these people, special elections are just as important as midterms.
Absolutely. Sometimes they're more important because special elections, the voter turnout is generally lower, so your vote has a more impact. And special elections often set up general elections.
Yeah, as you guys saw.
You ask any political junkie like myself, there are no surprises in American politics. Everything, when you look back, you always can tell because there were warnings and signposts ahead of time. And special elections are the biggest of those signposts.
Florida and Texas just had 2 surprising general elections.
Matter of fact, we have Stoneham down next to me has a special election to fill one of their selectmen. Now that you would think is a very small election, and I know some friends in Stoneham, and they're all gearing up for it. There's reasons for that, which I won't get into, but that's very local inside baseball. But they are really pushing to get the vote out there. So
yeah, we've got a group of MAGA people out here in Brockton who are really trying to flip it here in the Brockton area. But Massachusetts is so strong as a blue state, so I see what they're trying to do, but it is what it is. I got to thank everybody for tuning in the show, everybody in the chat, Z-Man, Chris Gagney, Wade Simmons, Stephen Prey, all you guys in the chat. I got to thank Demetrius Minor for coming on the show, but I got to get ready to get out of here. We got Turnbuckles and Spilt Liquor podcast. We'll be back in May with First Tuesday. I'll be back next week, but SpongeBob, do me a favor, take us home.
Well, see you next Tuesday.
Thank you for listening to The Booth on Hoobazoo and HatcherRadio.com. Please follow the Facebook page and subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. The Booth is a Sinista1 production hosted by Sinista1.
I've got to start hanging out with friends that are a little more intelligent and understand politics and stuff. It's just that I'm up on this level up here, and all my friends are down here. Me, nah. You guys, nah. Maybe a little more down in here. Screw you guys, I'm going home.
I smoke, I drink, I do my thing. These bitches hating, so you know I got to make it plain. Don't do cocaine, but your chick, my main. We stick together, true forever, yeah, you know we bang. I miss those days, which was easy. If only I make it, this on repeat. Now that I done upgraded, I've been upstate, and y'all think I'm playing. And I got a hit now for these weak assholes who think I ain't slaying. Try me, and I'll probably end up laughing, cause I never back down. I'm that chick with a clean ass whip, I don't need that shit, it's like I'm my own now. I get hurt, I get tired of fussing, fighting, guess I gotta crack down. Don't mess with me, cause on everything, I'ma have to bring the whole city out.
WHOOBAZOO, that's Hoobazoo.com. Enter website, enter website, enter website, enter website.